It was the only thing I had left. I ran out of
I figured.
a paper. And I'm like, I need just a few more pieces. Like, what's thin and white? It's like going through all my special papers. Oh, here we go. Zimasheze. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Start chord. I just hit that. No? Oh, stop record. Stop live. There we are. All right. Hopefully the volume is working. Well, there's only one way to find out. Sometimes when you don't start the have the mics on
Oh.
at the
It
same.
locks you on.
Well, it just doesn't. It won't sense it, and then it won't
It's okay.
go with the volume. Had that happen before, so I'm just going to do a quick little.
There you go, see?
It won't sense it. And it's working.
It's not good.
You can still lay low.
All right.
I'm not on Facebook.
Okay. Nivarech, let us bless. Where did Gidon take off to? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us through his commandments and has commanded us to be occupied with the words of the Torah. Abba, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this place, for brothers and sisters to study with. Abba, we pray that you would hide these things in our heart, Abba, and show us wondrous things from your Torah as we learn the Lashon HaIvrit, the tongue of Hebrew that you've given to us. But we just want to draw close to you through your word, Abba. So I pray that this time and this energy that we're spending, Father, would be an acceptable offering before you. And it's in Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeshua.
L'chaim Yeshua.
The study of Torah should be sweet.
Amen.
So we once again are starting in Sefer Shemot, the book of Exodus, in chapter 9, verse 24. The resource we are using, if anybody wants to follow along with your devices that you may have here, or if somebody that might be following online, is blbclassic.org. blbclassic.org, a link for that can be found on our live streaming page. It might not be the right verse, but you click on that and then you can go to the verse that we're using. That's again chapter 9, verse 24 of Sefer Shemot, the book of Exodus. And you click on the C for concordance, and then you can see the Hebrew very clearly, because you will not be able to see that through the live streaming on the screen there. So verse 24 is where we're starting. Who wants to go first? For those who would like to, they can read their word or they can translate it. If they don't feel comfortable doing that, they can pass on that. Gidon kaklakaki babibaksha. And who would like to go first?
Him, he used to always, no? Jeez.
You're not still sketching little pictures over there, are you, buddy?
Uh-oh.
Why don't you put all that away? Why don't you put all the away again, buddy? Okay, Nehemiah, since you got my attention, you get the first word. Yep, Vayhi.
It doesn't have a root.
It does have a root. It's just, for whatever reason, on this resource, just the one thing that it kind of lacks. But it is probably one of the most common verbrates in all of the Tanakh. So my guess is always that, they're like, you should know this. We're not going to put it on there.
We're not figuring.
So it is the verbret haya. It drops its hey in this particular form, but haya is spelled hey, yod, hey. One thing I forgot to bring up here was my e-sword. I believe that it will show the root on that, but while that's being pulled up here. Hey, yod, hey, haya. The Hebrew verb means to come to pass, will be.
And he shall come to pass.
What's that?
And he shall come to pass.
Or happen, something of that nature. In its basic root, it's past tense. Let me just go here really quick. So we're in Exodus chapter 9, what, verse 24? Okay.
Haya. Let's see, make it a little bigger. Idea is it's to be or to become, to come to pass, but it's always past tense in its basic verb root. That's what we're dealing with here. So it's only 2 letters of its verb root. Most verb roots have 3 letters. In this case, and in many cases, a weak verb root will drop off one of its letters. And so we know this is the root right here that I'm highlighting, the hey and the yod, which tells us that everything else, part of that word, is somehow modifying the verb root. So you cannot do translation by just looking at a Strong's Concordance. It's impossible, because it only shows you the root. It doesn't show you prefixes, doesn't show you conjunctions, doesn't show you the vowels, which also carries information, because there's 7 different verb tenses based on the vowels. Doesn't show suffixes. It doesn't show tense. None of that. Just gives you the bare basic root. So the yod here on the verb root of haya, Nehemiah. Do you remember the prefix yod? What information it tells us? It can be translated as he because it is a masculine form. If there's no suffix that is pluralizing it, that is, because he would be a singular form. Do you know anything else about the yod prefix? Normally a prefix will put a verb into a future tense, or otherwise known as the imperfect tense. The action hasn't been completed. But the vav, right here, which is a conjunction in biblical Hebrew when it's on the beginning of the word, meaning and, will reverse the tense. If you're dealing with a prefix here and that vav has a patak or kamatz underneath it, it will reverse that tense. There's no dagesh in this particular case,
I know it.
which is probably indicative of some type of a PL or something like that, but it's a little irregular maybe in that regard. But vav is translated as what, Nehemiah? And, that's right. The yod, if you're dealing with an inanimate object and not a person, you could translate it as it. And then, of course, the haya is like to come to pass. So how might you translate? There's a few ways you can do this, but how might you translate vayhi? What's that? Or, well, it's in the past tense because that vav, in Hebrew we call that the vav hahipuk, or the conversive vav, because it reverses tenses. What was that? Or, and it came to pass. Yeah. The way that the KJV translates this, so there was. I guess so can be in conjunction. It's not usually how we translate the vav.
Oh, they said so. Yeah.
I guess they're
Sometimes they
translating
do
the
that.
yod isn't there.
And they say like dust too sometimes.
Yeah. There's lots of different conjunctions, so I guess it's fair game. But literally you can translate it and it was. But here they have the so there was. Vayhi. You'll hear that a lot, that Hebrew word. All right, so we'll keep on rolling clockwise there. Who?
I can try it.
Okay, you want to try it? Okay.
It looks similar to the one that we used before. Is it the rod?
Good job. Varad. Yeah, so
It's
both those
varad,
kamats.
varad,
Yeah, both those kamats make the ah sound. So va, you have the vet in the kamats, the vet making the va, the kamats making the ah, so va, then the resh making the ra, and the kamats making the ah again, and then the ra, and then you just close it, the consonant there of the dalet making the d. Va, rad. So yeah, varad is hail. Good, excellent. The reason why it's not barad, because it would normally, properly, it should be barad. And the reason why it lost its dagesh and then got a V sound was because of 2 things. First thing is a long vowel preceding a big ed kafat letter. Big ed kafat letters are bet, gimel, dalet, kaf, pei, or fei, or tav. If they're the first letter in a Hebrew word, the rule for the big ed kafat letter is they take a dagesh. There are exceptions to that, and one of the exceptions is that if a long vowel, such as the chirik malay, that chirik and that yod there, come before it along with a servant trope, that munach, that little L-looking cantillation mark is a servant trope. If both of those are present, it loses its dagesh because it sees it as a combination, almost as one word, and so thus it doesn't see itself, that vet doesn't really see itself as the first letter, thus taking a dogish. Of course, letters don't think, but that's basically the explanation.
We like to give them personality.
Exactly. Vaihi barad, as opposed to Vaihi barad. All right, so and it came to pass, and it was hail, or it came to pass, there was hail, something of that nature. Came to be hail. Right. And Reuben, yeah.
The Aish,
The Ish.
and Aish is the word for fire.
Yes, Ish.
Vav is our connective and, so, and fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vaihi varad ve'esh. And there was hail and fire. All right, and we'll keep on rolling to Gidon. Yep. I'm sorry, one more time? Yes, and then where's the emphasis? Yeah, it's kind of a tongue twister. Meet lakachat. So, meet lakachat. So the emphasis goes right here. Wherever the cantillation mark is, that's where the thrust of the pronunciation will go. So, meet lakachat. Ma shors meet lakachat, eventually. What is the root? Yeah, lakach. So we have that down here on your root list, if you take a look at that. Lakach is used quite often throughout the Tanakh. Means to take. So, this is the root. Everything else is not the root. Everything else is modifying the root. So, what do you think about the rest of that there? Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure.
So the mem tends to be some type of a participle form on the front of a verb root, either putting it in an active form or turning it into a noun sometimes. But the tav is, this can be like a participle heat pedal, is my guess,
This is hard.
because it has the eat before it. So there's seven different verb tenses. There's your simple verb tense, which is the call. It's the active voice. And then you have the nifal, which is the passive of the simple verb tense. And then you have the hefil, which is the causative. And then you have the pl, which is the intensive or the intentional action. And then you have the hitpa'el, which is the reflexive. And you generally have passive forms for most of these other ones here. But those are the main branches of the verb tenses. And all of them can often significantly change the understanding of the word that you're looking at there. So one nice thing about this particular resource, the blbclassic.org, is that when it comes to the verbs, what you can do is you can, oh, they didn't give a tense here, did they?
Find that they skipped it.
Yeah.
Well, you can at least click on it to see what it's doing here. And you can see that the definition is, normally though, there is a place where you can, like for instance, if you go down further, oh, I guess I didn't see them all there. Let's see here. I thought I saw one earlier. Yeah.
It is hard, you're right.
Every once
Good reason to skip it.
Every once in a while, they do that. They just don't put the information down there. I'm just curious here to see if in the next verse they have all their.
Must have been.
Yeah, see, you'll have these little tense things.
Yeah.
That'll give you information about the verb tense itself. But there is a diagnostic sheet. We'll have to get some more printed up here. I don't know if we have extra ones over there in the. If you don't, can you check for those, please? But I'll pull it up here on the screen here, that you can look at this and know what you're looking at.
Is it a heat pile?
What's that again?
Heat pile?
Yeah, heat pile.
Pronouncing that right?
Yeah, hitpa'el is the reflexive form.
Yeah, we're all up.
Are you sure? Did you look for her there?
Cause I see that.
I don't think we have our machine working.
I may be able to do it from my house. I just gotta remember. I don't get as crisp of a,
No, you don't.
but
I'll try.
it's functional.
Yeah, at least it's working.
Yeah. Okay.
I know, I can bring it with me when I do
There you go. Okay, there's the heat ba'al. Okay. So, the heat ba'al is not as common as some of the other verb tenses, but you have these. If you go to the very top of this sheet, and many of you do have the sheet, you have these columns. PF means perfect form. That means it doesn't have a prefix. IMPF is imperfect. It means it has a prefix. IMPV means it's the imperative form. INFCSTR is infinite construct, infinite absolute, and PTC is the participle form. So as you go down here to the heat ba'al, all the things on the right there that you'll be looking at are the participle heat ba'als. It's the meat that you can see, the mem, the chirik, and the tav. And if we go back to our verse here, that is what we see here, meat. And that's why I was saying it was the participle heat ba'al. So heat ba'al is a reflexive form, but participle, it's like adding an ing on the end of a word, or a participle can turn a verb into a noun. For instance, you have the Hebrew word shamar, which means to guard, basically. To guard, to hedge about. If you put it into a participle form, it goes from the idea to guard to be a guardian when it's in the noun form. So it's a noun, but it's a noun that's like it's like a noun verb because you're a guardian, one who guards, right? Or if it is truly just in an active verb sense, and then this is all going to be based on context, then you can translate it as guarding as opposed to guardian. But it can go either way, depending on the context. So that's kind of how you understand a participle form. And again, the eat, which we normally have either as heat or yeet or meat or something of that nature, maybe neat in some cases, is just the reflexive form. So the idea is that if you were to do an action, let's just say the active form, the basic active form, if I were to give Gidon a high five, right? That would be the basic active form. The reflexive form would be me giving myself a high five. That's the reflexive form. That's how the heat ba'al works. So lakach means to take. So with all of that, how I would look at that, if we were to do it literally, we'll have to take a look at how some of these other literal versions did it. I have a feeling that the KJV danced around this a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe because it was difficult. But so if it's participle form, it goes from take to taking, or one who takes. The reflexive form would be to take oneself, essentially. And let's just look at this here. Let's just see what it listed as the heat ba'al. The nice thing about this too, this the PLB Classic, is that unlike the Strong's Concordance, which just gives you a big, huge list of words to pick from, and it's like, have fun trying to figure out which word you should pick. What it does is it breaks it down into the different verb tenses that this particular word manifests itself in the Tanakh. So it manifests itself in the call, which is the simple basic, nifal, which is the passive simple verb tense, pual, which is the passive intensive, hofal, which is the passive causative, and the heat ba'al. So as I translated, to take hold of oneself. But it is a participle form, so taking hold of oneself. Or it may be in some weird context to be one who takes hold of himself. But those are your basic options. Interesting here how they translate this to flash about. That's a strange variation, going from the Hebrew word to take to flash about. I don't know about that.
There's 26 miscellaneous that are hard to. Oh,
Well,
see they have it there, mingle?
Where's that?
Mingle.
Top, mini, mingle.
Many, mingle. That's one of the definitions.
Oh, I see right here. Yeah.
And
That's
that
a
would fit.
That's a strange definition though for
hail-
lakach, to
Hail
take.
and fire mingled. Or mingling.
Or flash.
Mingling.
It says that in the complete Jewish Bible. It says it hailed and fire flashed up with him.
Yeah.
Mm.
for le coq is properly to take, so it's just a strange
I know.
jump. It's a strange jump. But anyways,
You know what the literal said?
Did I miss that?
let's see here. They have this as, yeah, they translate it as mingled in this particular case. But technically it shouldn't be in a past tense. If it's a participle form, it should be mingling, right? Let's take a look and see what the literals tell they do this. There's certain literal versions that are pretty well trusted. So they did it as flashing. They translated le coq as flashing. Strange. That's so strange. Okay.
That is super, you would never get that.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I
Where
don't
do you?
get it. Where do you get that? I don't know.
I think they're stretching. Okay. But anyways, so we can conjecture how we would do it literally with how it's properly to be understood. But okay, here's another one. Young's literal did catching. Okay,
So it includes the ing?
that's a little better though.
Yeah,
Actually,
it
you know
is.
why?
Why?
You go from taking to catching. Catching is kind of
Reflexive. Right.
because you're taking hold of
I
oneself.
throw you a ball and you catch it.
You're taking
Oh,
hold.
I threw the ball up to myself.
Yeah,
And
kind
caught
of.
it.
Yeah, it's kind of. So that's a little better. I could see Young's was struggling with this, and they came up with catching. So fire catching itself.
And they said itself, so that's the reflexive.
Yeah, yeah. So you can see them struggling with this too. Let's see what the CLV literal version did. Ah, taking hold of itself. That was really literal. Nice. The CLV gets the high five.
Yeah, they do.
I would go with that.
Mhm.
That's literally what it says.
That's what we were-
Everything else is pretty much a paraphrase that we've read.
Mhm.
All right. It's a little archaic, but
It was a tough one.
flashed up. That doesn't sit well. Anyways. All right. Taking hold of itself. How would that might be visualized? It's like it hits, and then it kind of comes up, and then it comes down on itself. Kind of like,
On fire.
you know, you can imagine these fireballs coming down. They're just like,
They're hail, but when they hit,
they make these little,
it
yeah.
turns to fire
It's like yeah, but it kind of pops up and down.
on itself.
That taking hold
But
of
when it does that,
That's
it turns its fire.
that's how I would imagine
Caught
it.
itself on fire.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something like yeah. There you go. Caught itself. Nice. I like that. It kind of hits and then it ignites. Yeah, that'd be a much better translation.
I wonder what was going on there.
But you can see them all
That'd be awesome.
stressed, sweating over this one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were, what do we do with this?
That's probably why they didn't put a tense there.
There's probably some intern working that day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not.
He sent an email to the professor, he didn't get a response, and it's like, okay, I gotta get this done, so.
I'm skipping it, I'm gonna put an arrow on my.
Yeah, that's what they did.
They put an arrow.
I'm gonna put an arrow on mine.
Lecoq, and then
move
just
on.
shoots the arrow up there. Uh-huh. All right. Have fun, guys. All right.
Yeah, you take care now.
But I think with God's help, we figured it out. Just in a matter of minutes. Bizrat Hashem. Okay, so let's go to the next word here, and Bauch. What is it again? Remember, this is the Cholam Malay. So in this case, the Vav is a vowel, and the Vav is silent. So together, just the Cholam and the Vav make the O sound. Beitoch. Beitoch. Ken. Got a lot of sun this weekend. He's tired.
Yeah, he looks tired.
What was that again? Right, so the word is betoch, and the root is, as you can see down there, tavek. And it should be technically tavech, not tavek. They transliterated that a little wrongly there. If it was tavek, it would just have a single dot, not chaf sofit. Tavech. And sometimes they'll actually translate it right when you actually go into the actual Hebrew word here. Nope, they didn't.
No, no.
Tavek.
They had a chance.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, well, but betoch means in the midst of.
Yeah.
So let's see here. That's pretty straightforward and simple. Betoch means, well, the toch is the midst basically, and the bet is in. And
By context, we could refer.
construct.
Construct.
Exactly right. So it's an in construct for sure. All right. So, and the fire was catching itself in the midst. Something of that nature. All right. In the midst of the Nehemiah.
Too much sun for these guys.
Is that with the bat or the bat? With the doggish is it with that?
Yes, you know that.
Okay.
Just sent that out. Hmm?
Habara.
Mm-hmm. Habarad. Good.
That hail.
Yeah. So barad is what? Hail. And what is the ha? The is the definite article. So when you say the ha in front of a noun, if you see it in front of a verb, it's not the definite article. But in front of a noun, it's going to be the definite article the. So the hail. So betoch habarad, in the midst of the hail, like fire was like catching itself in the midst of the hail. And I can only imagine that it was like catching itself on fire or something of that nature, or popping up and down. I don't know, something of that nature. All right, so let's keep on rolling there. You wanted to try the next one there, Bobby?
Is it kaved?
Good job, kaved.
Good job.
Just as easy as that. So kaved, what does the kaved mean?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Kaved comes from the Hebrew root kavad, which we get the word kavod from. So kavod is glory. So kavad means to be grievous or to be heavy, something of that nature. So kaved is, in this particular case, is like grievous, or how might we else we translate that? Severe. But I like grievous. I'm going with grievous.
Yeah.
Heavy. You could do heavy too. All right.
Meod.
Me'od.
Meod means very.
Very, yes. So kaved me'od is
Very grievous.
very grievous. That's right. Okay, and Gidon Asher. Well, just tell me what you think it means. It's probably. It's, well, just tell me what you think it is. Might be rattling up there because you did memorize it at one point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was part of a bar mitzvah Hebrew test.
I feel like I should.
Sure.
We use it in our blessings.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
No, just tell me what you think. It doesn't mean what, but you're kind of close. It means, it can mean a lot of different things, but it could be that,
Usually about
not for, not for.
things.
There's four main things that it usually is, but it could be more than that. So it's that, which, who, and when. Asher. And oftentimes, depending on the context, it could be most of them or all of them, depending on how you want to translate it.
Yeah.
A lot of them will work. That, which, when, who.
Who?
So, Asher, usually it's that or which, in most cases. But when we do it in the blessing, it's Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu, who has commanded us, or sanctified us rather.
Isn't there another one, Asher Malat?
Yeah.
Asher.
Who reigns.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is king, Melech, Asher Melech. Yeah. So you can translate it as who, or you could do that reigns. But probably in that particular case, it's who reigns. Be better on that one there. Okay, Asher, that's used quite a bit. You're going to get a lot of mileage off of that Hebrew word. And Bauch. Lo haya. So this is this first verb root that we had up here, but it's its full form. Haya. Remember what haya means? Okay, I want you to write this down. This is, if you guys don't know the answer to something, this is a great time to write notes. And just the action of writing the note helps to memorize it. So the more times you write it down, the quicker you're going to start memorizing these things. So haya means to come to pass, to be, was, happened, something of that nature. So what is this word here? Baruch. I'm talking Baruch. Lo, what does that mean? Yeah, no or not. So when it's spelled with the aleph, it's no or not, the negative article. It basically negates whatever comes after it. So the idea is lo haya is it wasn't, or it didn't happen, or something of that nature. They have this as was none, not was, not was.
Yoda speak.
Yeah, exactly. Not wasn't.
Not was.
Yeah. All right, and Nehemiah.
Um, oh,
Chamohu, yeah. Cha, because there's no dagish in that chaf. So chamohu, emphasis right here. What is chamohu? What do you think?
is there a rib?
Not really. It's just you have a pronominal suffix stuck to the front of a like a preposition.
Oh,
So the ka sound is what we say is like or as or similar or according, something of that nature. So we can just translate as like. And the who, what is who as a pronominal suffix? He. Who means he when you put that in there like that. So what would be chamohu? The
from he. I mean, like,
or you can, if you're not dealing with an actual person, you can translate as it, like it. So there wasn't anything like it. Lo haya chamohu. We have the same kind of initial form here when we say mi chamocha, except for we have the cha, we have the second person masculine singular pronominal suffix on the end of that one. So chamocha is like you. Mi means who. Mi chamocha is who is like you. Here we have chamohu, like it or like him. But since we're dealing with the fire and the hail, we're not going to give it, the word him.
Give it a he.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to call it an it, even though it is masculine. All right, and do you want to try the next one there? Just start with this first one here.
Bechol?
Yep, bechol.
Eretz?
And what was that again?
Is it Eretz?
Yep, eretz. Good job. Yep, and you got the emphasis right too. The emphasis goes right there.
Excellent.
When you have two sigols next to each other, we call that a sigolet, and the emphasis goes on the first sigol. Generally in the biblical Hebrew, the words, the emphasis goes towards the end of the word, unless it's a sigolet. So a sigolet can be double sigol, or even a double patach. For instance, right here, this would basically be the double pataka here, this first patak here and this patak here. Lakachat, as opposed to lakachat. So eretz as opposed to eretz. Bechol eretz. Do you know how you would translate bechol?
I have cheap.
That's okay.
Oh, they don't have that one on there.
As a preposition, do you remember what the bet is?
Paul?
The preposition bet, and if anybody doesn't know the answer to this, write this down, means in, on, with.
Oh, I do have it written down.
Those are the most common ones. There's a few other ways that could be translated for sure, but in, on, with. And then, normally this would be kol, because as a beged kafat letter, it would have its dagesh if it was the first letter. But without being the first letter in the Hebrew word, it loses that dagesh and goes to the guttural sound instead of the harder version. So instead of bechol, it's bechol. And then chol means what? You said it just earlier.
All.
All, exactly. All or every. So how might you translate bichol?
With all
Yeah, or
in every.
or in every, or
On every, on all.
or. Those are all good,
With
but
all, with, wait, what haven't I used yet? Or on?
in all.
In all, okay, yeah.
In all,
The
yeah.
2 letters of one time.
Yep.
Okay.
So all those would work, but I think in this case, the context, I think, would be better in all. Bichol, in all. And then, eretz is what again?
Oh. Did I already say that? I missed it.
Maybe you didn't.
Oh, the land.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Eretz is land.
Okay.
So, of course, you have another Hebrew word that's going to modify what type of land it is. So it's a kind of a construct form.
Okay.
And so you can infer the definite article when it's a construct because it's in a definite status. So bechol eretz would be in all the land of. And then the next word will describe what land it is of.
Okay.
Tov. All right. And get a nice easy one there.
I'm freaked out. Mitzrayim.
Mitzrayim.
Mitzrayim is Egypt.
Yep, it's the Hebrew word for Egypt.
All the land of Egypt.
I think it means like something like great house or something in
Oh, yeah.
the Egyptian, yeah. All right, Gidon. Try it again. It's Zayin. Me'az, good. Me'az. Let's see, do we have that on our list here?
No.
Hmm. Okay, so as a preposition, do you remember what the mem means? You don't remember? Write it down. Mem as a preposition means from. Oz is usually a form of the words for strength. Let's see here. I'm surprised they don't have this on here. Let's. It's like the intern fell asleep at the wheel again. Let's see here. Oh, Oz can be sense too.
Oh.
But yeah, it doesn't get used. We have obviously it happens quite a few times in Tanakh, but we haven't had that one for a while. Yeah, Oz or Oz is usually the Hebrew word for strength. I'm pretty sure that's spelled Aleph Zayin.
I thought so too.
Just as a quick check on that, I'm just curious what the main difference would be. That's Koach. That's not it. That's Chazek. There's a few Hebrew words. O's, there it is. Oh, it's with no, it's with an ayin.
Is it really?
I forgot.
Yeah, I didn't think it would.
That's why I wanted to look it up so I could remember the distinction. So, Oz is like sense with an aleph. Oz with an ayin is strength.
Right.
Mental note. So, from sense. Or just, they're probably, most versions are probably just translating this as sense, even though the preposition is there.
Right.
All right. Baruch. Hayata. You know what Hayata is? Baruch? Do you know what Hayata, the root of Hayata is? Write it down. So Hayata is the feminine version of Haya. Haya is the masculine form, and Hayata is simply the feminine form. So you're going to use that when you're dealing with feminine contexts. Doesn't change the meaning except for it's just the feminine form. Because the gender must match when it comes to matching these together. And the reason why, we'll get to the next word here. Well, after I get to this next word, I'll describe why it's in the feminine form. Actually, I will first ask the question to see if anybody else knows, and then I will need to be explained. Okay, so, Nehemiah.
Is that it? It's like, is the one with the mouth and the one with the bow? Is it a shriek? Or a?
Are you messing around with me?
No, no.
Yes, you are.
He knows these things. So what letter is this? What vowel is this? What vowel is this right here? And it's called the cholam malay, right? What sound does the cholam malay make? Oh, yes, it makes the O sound. Okay. And then what sound does the cholam malay with the yod make? Oi. Yep. So you know these things. So now, read the word. Legoy. Okay. What is a goy in Hebrew? Yes, I guess if you listen to Levi, that's exactly what you get. But no, that's not what it means. Goy refers to a people or a nation. It's usually it's a nation. It's the goy or goyim is those who are not Israel because they're a nation aside from Israel. But in some cases in the Tanakh, goyim can actually be used to describe the different peoples within Israel, the different tribes. So context makes a difference, although usually the goyim or the goy is those are outside of Israel. But context makes a big difference. That's actually significant when it comes to certain doctrines to understand that, but we won't address that today. So what about the lamed? 2 or 4. So how do you translate legoy? If goy is a nation, or for a nation. So me'asayata legoy, from since it was a nation. So lo haya chamohu bechol eretz Mitzrayim. There was nothing like it in all the land of Egypt since it was a nation. So why hayata? Why the feminine version instead of haya here? Anybody know?
Is it the feminine version?
Yeah.
Is it the I?
Yeah, is, well, the tav is actually what, because the Hebrew word haya is the masculine.
Or the A.
Usually the kamatse is a feminine ending, but the tav here is the irregular form is what's making it feminine in this case. What's that? Yeah, kamatse is normally a feminine ending, but note this also has a kamatse, and it's the masculine form. So it's the tav actually that makes the feminine, but why did it switch to the feminine form in this case instead of being the masculine that we had earlier? What do you think, Raven?
Countries are feminine?
Is it going all the way back to?
Countries are feminine?
Exactly right. Countries are feminine. That's right. That's the reason.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yep.
It's
Good
the only
job.
thing I got right in the
Yep.
whole
No.
class.
In Hebrew, countries are feminine, even though in thought they're feminine. Even though Mitzrayim is a masculine ending here, technically, countries are feminine. That's why it says kumi ori, which is a feminine imperative form when it comes to arise when it protects the people of Israel in the country and stuff. All right, Dov. So let's go back and let's read through the verse here and get our fluid reading going. Then we'll double back on the translation. It's Hebrew time, and then we're going to take a look at the cantillation marks here. So let's make sure that we're doing our best to read the Hebrew instead of just hearing what I'm saying and repeating. Vayhi,
Vayhi,
varad,
vara,
ve'esh,
ve'esh,
mit lakachat,
vayhi,
mit lakachat, mit lakachat. Yes. Betoch
betoch,
habarad. Kaved me'od. Asher lo haya chamochu bechol eretz Mitzrayim. Me'az hayata legoy. Note whenever I'm going down in inflection, I'm dealing with major lords, and we're talking about what those major lords represent: periods, commas, things of that nature. So going back to the beginning again, we're going to do the translation. And it came to pass, there was hail and fire, and it was catching itself in the midst of the hail very grievously, which did not happen like it in all the land of Egypt since it was a nation. And so we have, going back to the beginning here, we have underneath the Vayhi, we have the Munach under that the Hay, and that's a servant trope. There's three different categories of tropes. Servant trope is something that is in combination with the next word. And so if you see a servant trope, it's understood to be a unit with the next word. And so that can be helpful when it comes to translation and understanding what things are connected and what things are not. And then we have over the Varad, it is the Zakef Ketona, which is a major lord. That's representative of like a comma or period. So the cantillation marks not only teach you some of the mood and how to chant it, but it shows you punctuation, which is absolutely essential when it comes to doing translation. So the first one, Vayhi, we have that Munach. A Munach coming before the Zakef Ketone sounds like this. There's like a bass note, and then there's 3 steps up. Munach. Emphasis always goes where the cantillation mark is. Vayhi. And so it's combination with the next word, so there's not a break at all when you're chanting it, or reading it for that matter. And then Zakef Ketone of that Resh is a major lord sounding like this. Zakef Katon Varad. So I would pause here. I'd see Vayhi Varad. And I kind of go down. My fluctuation, my voice goes down, and that's indicating when I'm noting that there is a major lord there. Okay, so then we have the next word Ve'esh, where we have a Zakef Gadol. Before we had a Zakef Katan here, which is basically the small kataf, Zakef rather, and this is the large Zakef. Zakef Gadol sounds like this. Zakef Gadol.
Zakef Gadol.
Ve'esh.
Ve'esh.
And so that's also a major lord. And so it's kind of almost dramatic. And there was hail, pause, and fire, pause. Just like that, that's how it's meant to be understood. So then we have Mitz Lakachat, where we have a Tipcha underneath the Kof, and that is a minor lord. So minor lord just creates just a small break in between the two words, so there's not a combination. So the Tipcha sounds like this. Tipcha, Mitz Lakachat. And then we have Betoch, where we have another Munach. Munachs can change their sound depending on what cantillation mark comes after it. So in this case, we have an Etnakta underneath that Resh. Etnakta is a major lord, and this Munach sounds like this. Munach, Betoch. It's a combination, so it's a combination with the next word. Then we have Etnakta, Habarad, and then there would be a pause. And then we have another type of Munach we had this one earlier. Munach before the Zakef Ketone. Now once again, it's Munach, Kaved, another Zakef Ketone. Zakef Ketone, Me'od. So Kaved, Me'od goes together. And then we have Asher, where we have the Talisha Ketana. The Talisha Ketana sounds like this. Talisha Ketana. Yeah, so it looks like a little magnifying glass leaning to the right there. And that is a servant trope, so it's a combination with the next word. Lohaya, which has another servant trope. So that's in combination. So we have basically 3 words that are all in connection to each other. It's supposed to be read all together like it's one big word. So Mapak is the cantillation mark that we have underneath the Yod. And that Mapak looks like a little lesser than symbol. Mapach.
Mapach.
Lo haya.
Lo haya.
Anything prior to the cantillation mark is a monotone sound. And then we have chamochu. You have a double pashta. The emphasis goes on the first pashta. The pashta sounds like this. Pashta.
Pasha.
Chamochu.
Chamochu.
That's a, as I mentioned before, a minor lord, so it breaks up the combination here. And then we have Bechol Eretz, where we have another Munach. Another Zakev Katon comes after that, so this Munach is once again Munach.
Munach.
Bechol Eretz.
Bechol Eretz.
And then over Mitzrayim is the Zakev Katon, which is the major lord. Zakev Katon.
Zakev Katon.
Mitzrayim.
Mitzrayim.
Then we have Me'az, where we have another Tipcha, it's a minor lord. Tipcha.
Tipcha.
Me'az.
Me'az.
Hayata is a mercha, which is a servant trope. So it's going to be a combination of the next word. Mercha.
Mercha.
Hayata.
Hayata.
It looks like a colon here. It's called the sof pasuk. It refers to the end of a verse or end of sentence. Every verse has one. The vertical line shows where the emphasis goes for the sof pasuk. It's called a siluk. And the sof pasuk, there's 3 different types. We're just going to go with the most common one here, which is sof pasuk.
Sof pasuk.
Legoi.
Legoi.
So we'll do a fluid chanting of the text with combinations together. Vayhi varad.
Vayhi varad.
Ve'esh.
Ve'esh.
Mitlakachat.
Mitlakachat.
Betoch habarad.
Betoch habarad.
Kaved me'od.
Kaved me'od.
Asher lo haya chamohu.
Asher lo haya.
Let's try that again. It's a little bit lower, mapak there. Asher lo haya chamohu.
Asher lo haya kamohu.
Let's try it one more time. Asher lo haya chamohu.
Asher lo haya kamohu.
There we go. Bechol eretz Mitzrayim.
Bechol eretz Mitzrayim.
Me'az.
Me'az.
Hayata legoi.
Hayata legoi.
Don't me'od hachavarim shali. Very good, my friends. Move on to the next verse here. Making pretty decent time. I think we might actually get 3 verses today.
What?
That is.
It's 7:34 already.
Oh, you have
Boy,
little
by
faith.
And the next one's Gadol. Look how huge that thing is.
We can do it. All right. Especially if we just get right on it. All right.
You gonna give this to me?
Of course.
All right. I'll give it a shot.
Who read last?
I don't remember.
Was it?
Who read last?
Was it one of these 2? It was, okay.
It was him.
He always says that. Yeah. Oh, that's right, you goy. Yeah, I remember that. We're going to
Ryan,
we're
you're
gonna have
up.
to tell Levy all about that one. Hemi, what does goy mean?
Yeah, he might be overusing
I
that
mean-
one a little bit. Yeah.
I won't repeat that again because in case I don't want to offend anybody. But all right, so
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you can listen to what they did. All right. You want to try it, Bobby?
Yeah, go. Let's see, I really don't know. Try that. Okay.
It's kind of funky.
Vayok.
Almost.
Mm,
It's
What
got
vowel sound
2
is that?
pata.
you get the first part right. The second patak is an ah sound.
Yeah, instead of a O sound.
Vayok. Oh,
Yeah.
Vayok.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Vayach.
Vayach.
Tov.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, this is what makes Hebrew so
I
very
don't know.
simple. Do you know, can you recognize where the root is in the verse there?
This is gonna be a difficult
And
one
if you
to
can't.
recognize.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't, don't worry about it. It's a tough one.
I've given a hint right up there. That's usually.
Yeah, but even that, yeah,
I'll let Raven
So
describe this one.
The va would be a modifier, right? Wait, so, but so it'd be, yeah.
Yeah, the Vav and the
Wouldn't
yeah.
be the first part anyway, how about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Put
exactly.
presents in there.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a tough one. So, the root, it is on our root list, the second word down there. Nacha. Which
Oh, the second one.
means to smite.
Yeah, I wouldn't make
Yeah. And the only thing left of our root, and it doesn't even, because it's a Sophic version of the ha, so that's why it's hard to recognize. That's the only thing left of our root. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Only one letter
You have a
left
weak
of the
root, and because the noon is notorious for dropping off weak roots, and the hay.
Definitely the hay, yeah.
Yeah, it's all you're left is the chaf.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't even look like the normal chaf, like you mentioned, because it's on the end of the list.
Yeah, doesn't even look,
It's a chaf
almost
Sophic.
unrecognizable, yeah. And then, so everything else is modifying that.
Hmm.
And I don't have my little red cheat sheet, but I think this is Gefil.
Yep, it is he feel.
Is it?
Mhm. I'll pull that up here. Although this one is kind of might be just a more irregular form that might be harder to spot, but I think that maybe we'll be able to track this down here. Let's see here. Here's the he feel, which is the causative verb tense. It is in the imperfect because it has a prefix, so IMPF column. It is not a strong writ. Drops its letters off. It is
First letter.
a noon. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be looking at for the most part.
But it's not long enough to even do that.
What else could we?
It's tough.
Yeah, like I said, it might not show it because of that. Because it's
Because really, the only thing.
so regular.
Yeah, it modified it was the patak with the, which is deceptive too, with the yod.
You do have the patak.
Yeah, and then a patak underneath there. So hey, third letter, it shows kind of, sort of, maybe, under the yod.
Yeah, I would almost go with that.
Yeah.
That's a little more consistent. Is the patak underneath the yod? I would go with that as the form.
Yeah. So it feels a causative. We know that.
Yep.
And the vav would be the connected and. And then the yod, there, I think it's a doubling kind of a thing, so.
This doesn't occur in the call in the Tanakh at all. It occurs in the Nephal, but even in the Hefil, it seems they're just translating that
Smite.
to strike. So I think we might be tempted to put a causative on top of that definition, but that's already what the definition is in the Hefil. So I don't think we'll need to do that at all. We just go smite. But it could be. Yeah, it's honestly not even to cause to smite. So, what are you thinking on this here? This, I wouldn't translate it in a personal way. I would translate
Is
that.
it,
Yes.
yeah, because of the following word.
Yeah, and so if you understand that, then everything flows pretty nicely.
I'm just wondering, it should be, in the future, they didn't translate it that way, but I think it should be, well, it would be in the future tense, but the Father puts
Yeah,
it
it
like
reverses
that.
it.
So,
Yeah.
and it's smoke,
And it's
or struck.
and it's struck. That is.
Right, the next word.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward if you think of it that way.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
All right. Gabriel, your name? No, I'm kidding.
I'm like-
I want to see that panic look.
Yeah, you'll get, that's all you'll get from me
Gidon,
tonight.
kaklaki padvaksha.
He is.
Oh.
I can see it.
All that hair is hiding it. Sorry.
Barad,
Habarad.
which means the hand.
The hail.
The hail.
Tov.
So we'd say, and it struck, that is the hail, or you could just say, and the hail struck.
Yep. A lot of times the verb will come before that one thing completing the action. Okay.
All right, Baruch. You got it. Uh-oh, you would think that.
Remember we've gone over this before?
Well, that's what it means, but.
But remember when this particular
in that
word,
particular word,
the kamat sounds like what? Normally it's ah. You're right to think of it as ah, but this is an exception where it's not ah, it's what? It's o. Bechol.
Kind of a short sound.
Mm-hmm. Good. Bechol eretz.
X. You got this, buddy. So what does it mean? You got it. Got confidence in you. Eretz means land, yeah. So what would this whole?
What is, no, don't ask Kitty. What's the bet mean? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You wrote that down earlier, didn't you?
Too much combination of too much sun and not enough sleep.
All right, you better tell him.
Okay. To save time, I'll bail you, but, so the bet at the prefix there, usually means in or on or with. Usually those are the things it means. And then whole means all or every, remember? I think you wrote that down before. And it's in construct, so we can infer the definite article, so. In all the land of, and then the next word, which, Hemi conveniently did.
Don't worry, we'll come back to him.
That's okay, we're not gonna skip. You wanna do the next one, Bob? Hemi bailed on.
Mitzrayim,
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
Egypt.
Egypt. Exactly.
So it's, yeah.
All right.
And I guess I'll do the next one. 8. What should do? 3. 8 kol asher. And 8 kol asher. 8. Is pointing back to also what's being smited.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a sign of direct object pointing back to the last verb, which was nacha.
Bayok.
So, to smite.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is also, you can have an et and an eight and an et, you know, for however many long, and it always points back to the last verb. And that just shows sign of direct object, just means that's what's being acted upon. So, it's pointing to what's being acted upon. So, and all who, I guess, or which, asher is, I think we wrote it down in Cole, being all or every. And asher is, can be 4 things. That, which, who or whom, or where. So we'll say, I guess we could say all which
Yeah.
are.
Sure.
And then the next word.
Or all which is, or whatever.
Or which is.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Emmy's gonna do a couple in a row, so
I
it's
know.
your turn, Gil. Pasadena.
Pasta day.
Alright, so Sade means field,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Good.
and Ba means in or
Mm-hmm.
on.
Good.
So
And then the Kamat's underneath there.
Or the
It's
Patak.
showing it, or Patak, yeah. It's showing us what?
Make construct.
No. So that's how you indicate the different articles, typically. So under the prefix, you see the Patak and a Dagesh in the next letter. And that tells you it's the definite article, so it'd be in the field, rather than just in field.
In a field. If it was a shiva like we have here, it would be in a field. With the patak, as you mentioned, it's in the field.
Exactly. And if the next letter can't take the Dagesh, it's a guttural, like an olive or something, then it would be a comma. Compensatory reading.
Nehemiah.
Yep, Nehemiah's got, and then it's gonna come back around on you again, buddy. You missed out.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want you to miss out.
You're gonna get double whacked there.
Yeah.
Read it. You have all day. Try it again.
Almost. Huh?
What letter is that?
No, right there.
Yeah, exactly. So why you did give it an S sound?
Almost, if you're adding an extra.
He's messing with us.
Awesome. I know, I think he is.
Yeah, I can see he does it with
You
a
are
little.
totally
He does it with a
messing with
mischievous grin when he does it.
Yeah.
So mischievous.
Yeah. Neadam.
Yeah, Dom. You gotta put the emphasis on the last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Ma. Mid. Adam.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Literally it's from
man. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, from man or from mankind or something. I know. Thank you. Yes, you're so funny, Hammy Whammy. All right.
Feel free to give him a good smack.
I know, exactly.
I think he is messing with us.
He does when he's bored.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
All right, so now Baruch.
Yep.
And then it's gonna go back to him.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
No,
it'll
this
go
will be
back
great.
to him.
This will be great. So that happens when he conveniently goes to the
Don't
bathroom.
worry, it'll go back.
Yeah. We just went, so now's your turn, and then it's his turn again.
And then he'll get the next 3 words because they're all together too.
What?
Yep.
Yep.
They're all go
Okay,
together.
Baruch, come on, buddy. Let's get this rolling. Is that a resh or is that a dalet? That's a resh. That's a dalet. Mm-hmm. Ve'ad, good. Behema. Tov.
Behemah.
Beast, yeah.
Beast or cattle or dinosaurs. And then
Dinosaurs.
it's just some beast. We don't know what it is. Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
You remember what odd usually is? Odd. I always think of it as one thing, but I think it's way more than that, and I can't remember the other things really. So odd, I always think of it as until.
Yeah, until, or maybe unto.
Yeah.
It's a reference point. So you could use it in that context. So I think until, unto, to, up to.
Yeah, so we can just go with unto. So, and unto.
Beast. Or cattle.
Yeah.
All right. Nehemiah.
Now you're back, buddy, and you get the next 3 words. They're all small, though. Deal with
I
it.
think you guys are just milking it so we don't get to the third verse.
It is milking.
What?
Yeah.
The eight.
The 8.
Wait, when it has the dot
He's messing with us.
It's a cough.
Oh.
That's a cough. That's a bet.
Is
Bet.
there dishwashing in your future?
I think there is, indeed.
I gotta do that.
Okay.
Get off.
So it's a cough.
No.
Coal.
Coal.
Coal. Coal.
He's really usually good.
Coal.
What's going
What letter is that? The scene.
So, a seven. Oh, a seven.
Asev. Mm-hmm.
Call.
Coal. Asev. Coalescent.
So all. That's what I call
on? What's going on?
What's
here?
an Esev? Right.
Is it on the room?
Write it.
Yes.
Write it down when Raven tells you.
It's on the roof.
Saw.
Yeah.
Smoke.
What?
It says that.
Come on, Dachem, yeah.
What the? He's really.
Time for this.
Oh, I thought, no, you said I.
Asev is an herb or plant. Coalescent of every plant, every herb. Okay, let's move on. Let's get past Mr. Hemingway and me.
Whoa, whoa,
I don't even know where.
whoa. Okay, so the eight still pointing back to the last verb. What's being smitten and all her. Okay. Whew. You want to do this one?
What was that?
Oh,
What's the last
ASAP? Oh, that's on there, so
Eighth, okay. Yeah,
it's
so I
kind
have
of
eighth.
blurred right there, but, ASAP is a herb.
Herb, okay.
Herb or plant, something like that.
Okay.
Every herb, every plant. All right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a herb, huh?
Okay, let's see.
So I'm sure these hails aren't doing other plants any favors. You're almost there. Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's a dollar, that's a dollar.
Oh, dollar,
Yeah.
Hasade.
Yep.
Yeah, Hasade.
Hasade,
Hasade,
okay,
yep.
Hasade. Yeah, I don't know.
Ah,
I
Hasade.
get those
What?
mixed up sometimes. Okay.
No problem.
Thank
You remember what Sade?
you. Let me see. Put my notes here. I have to cheat.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh,
You're
the
not
field.
cheating. It's fair game.
All part of learning
Feel
process.
of the field.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So, and, is hopping and, or no?
No,
Hop is other stuff.
means the.
The, oh, so that part, they're doing the whole thing of the field, okay.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah, and
herb
it's in context it's,
of the field.
construct.
Yeah, technically Asev is construct there.
Yeah.
Did you do Mr. Geek? Into coal?
So all plants of the field. So I got the next one, which I have no idea what it means. Econ. Cough. Like that? I don't know. Well, oh no. Okay, we got another B. Okay. I'm with you. Now I'm with you. Look at your rootless. So we have Naha again, which means it's like, and this is in the EQ, which is copy.
Mhm.
smite.
Right.
Uh,
What we have here basically is just a past tense, the perfect form.
yeah. So let's see how that would go. And all the plans of the field were smitten.
Mhm.
You could say that.
Yep.
Let's go with that.
Yep.
All right, you're next, buddy. We gotta keep rolling. Yep. On the rock. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
The hill.
Yep.
Yep.
The hail. Dove. So it was smitten of the hail. Right.
Baruch, are you moving, buddy? You got the next.
Just read it, please.
It's all short.
The S,
Yet.
L,
Huh?
A. The call.
Cole. Cole.
Cole?
Cole.
We've had it a few
Cole.
times. Yeah.
Cole.
Cole. You know this one.
Eights.
Eights.
Ve'et collates.
So what does it mean you got this?
Mhm. Sign of direct object. Yeah, pointing back from the verb here. Good.
No, Cole.
Did you write that? Did you write it down before?
I think he did.
You didn't write it down.
Cole means all or every, just to keep it rolling.
All right.
And remember what eights is? Eights, 5. That's a hint. Okay. Means tree.
Tree.
So we could say, and every tree.
All right.
And
Mm-hmm. Asade.
Day.
Yep. Good.
Okay, what's that? We've had this word several times.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've
What's a sod day?
Remember Sade?
Close right here.
Yeah.
So this two outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what's the hop? Remember in Hebrew?
Is it? Yeah.
Yep. So the field, right?
Tree of the
Right,
field.
buddy?
Field.
And every tree of the field.
Yep.
Master.
All right. But not the end. You guys are the ones slow rolled this. We're gonna be here for a little bit longer.
Yeah. You want to try the last word there?
Is it Shaber?
Yep. She bear.
Almost the harik is like an E sound.
She bear.
She-bear.
She-bear.
Okay,
She
she-bear.
bear. Yep.
And it is on our root list, but it doesn't look exactly like that.
Let's see. The L is the Shabar
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shavar.
and break.
Yep.
It's a
It
Binyan.
Shavar means to be break, but then it gets lets you jump in there. It's into
Yeah,
break.
so it's in the PL.
Where they spoke.
Did the KJV even get that? Oh, they didn't even intensify it, did they?
Yeah, they did.
They did?
Yeah.
Well, Shavar just means to break.
I know, but it's in the PL, so that means like smash.
That's my point. They didn't translate it as smash.
Oh, yeah, they didn't translate it.
So they missed the binyon, is my point.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. I bet the rules got it, but we don't have much time.
I bet you it does. Let's see here. We're in 25.
25. Other. and broken
No, they just,
pieces.
that,
Broken
that does
pieces.
intensify it.
Yeah. in
That's
pieces.
that's equivalent to smash. Let's see what the Youngs did. No, they just went broke.
No, that's from previous, in every tree of the field, it had broken,
They didn't go with it.
broke every tree.
Yeah.
And they
Too
didn't
bad.
really go with the PL.
Yeah. There's a distinction. Because the picture is that you just don't have a few broken limbs. It's like shredded, it's
Yeah, just
smashed, it's
smashed.
demolished. It's actually a lot more intense than.
Because the PL is the intensive form, and just to throw it up. So to break it, shavar is just to break.
Yeah, it's like going into the kitchen and say, "Oh, I broke a glass."
Yeah.
But if you go and tell somebody you smashed a
Smashed a
glass,
glass.
then you're like, "Wait a second,
Whoa,
why did you
whoa,
smash a glass?"
that's intense.
Because that's a little more intentional,
And intentional.
the difference.
Yeah, they kind of blew it on.
It's okay, we'll forgive them.
So we'll just repeat after me, I guess.
Yep.
Bayach,
Vayach,
Habarad,
Habarad,
Bechol Eretz,
Bechol Eretz,
Mitzrayim,
Mitzrayim,
Et,
Et,
Kol Asher,
Et Kol Asher,
Basadeh,
Basadeh,
Me'adam,
Me'adam,
Be'ad Behema,
Ve'ad Behema,
Ve'et Kol Esev,
Ve'et Kol Esev,
Hasadeh,
Hasadeh,
Hika,
Ika,
That's a weird, okay, anyway. Habarad,
Habarad,
Ve'et Kol Eitz,
Ve'et Kol Eitz,
Hasadeh,
Hasadeh,
Shiber.
Shiber.
And translation would be, let's see, and it was smashed.
Or smoked.
Oh, it's smitten, yeah. The hail in all the land of Egypt, all which were in the field from man or mankind and unto beast, and all plants of the field, and smitten. Let's see. How do we translate that? It was like smitten. I got it.
That or struck or something.
Or struck.
Mhm.
The hail and every tree. I guess you can put your hand kind of in the field.
Or a tree of the field.
Of the field was smashed.
Yep.
Alright. So, since we're beyond time, are you gonna make me do this?
I might be grateful today because everybody seems so tired.
Especially your.
Unless you're particularly zealous to go through it.
Ryan wants
Do you know where my family is right now?
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna leave it up to Raven.
You wanna do it? I won't do because that'll sap every soul in me, but, for the first one's a Kadma, so that sounds like Kadma,
Gadma,
Bayach,
Vayach,
and then we have a Atzla,
Azla,
Habarad,
Habarad,
then we have a Munach, and you always gotta look at the is a Munok Revi'i, and that Munok sounds like this. Munok, right? Munok.
That's a Mapak.
Oh. Munok.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of
Hey,
similar.
thanks.
It's kind of similar. One's higher though.
Good
Oh,
job.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's similar. So Bechol Eretz
Bechol Eretz
Mitzrayim.
Mizraim.
That's Revi'i sounds like Revi'i.
Revi.
And we got a Mapak, and that sounds like this.
It looks like a Mapak,
Oh, no, it's.
but it's before the vowel instead of
Oh,
after
no.
the vowel.
It looks like a Mapak just before the vowel, so.
What is
That
it?
is a.
That's what it kind of sounds like in my mind. I associate all of these things with like images.
With, like, images,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
Way to do it.
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember what it is.
Yetiv.
Oh, Yeti, Yeti, is that what that's what it sounds like too, right?
Yeah.
So just be 8, since
Eight.
it's only one
One consonant.
consonant.
Or one
Okay.
syllable.
And then we have another Munok, and that was Munok Sakef Katon, which we had a plethora of in the last verse, so that's Munok,
Munach.
Kol Asher,
Kol Asher.
Sakef Katon,
Zakev Katon.
Basadeh,
Basadeh.
and then we have a Tipcha,
Tibcha.
Me'adam,
Me'adam.
we have a Etnakta,
Etnakta.
and everything else is monotone, so Ve'ad Behema.
Ve'ad Behema.
And then we have another Kadma,
Kadma.
Kadma, Ve'et,
They ate.
and then, this one's my friend the Munok.
Yep, that's a Munach.
Okay.
Left side of it.
I mean not the Munok, I'm losing it, so.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. The
Yeah,
Mapak.
you know,
The Mapak.
Mapak.
Yeah.
Mapa,
Mapach.
Ko Esef,
Kol Esev.
and we have a Pashta,
Pashta.
Hasadeh,
Hasadeh.
Munok Sakef Katon again, so that's Munok,
Munach.
Hika,
Hika.
Sakef Katon,
Zakev Katon.
Habarad,
Habarad.
and then we have Munok, Mircha, Tikka combination,
Mhm.
Mircha,
Mercha.
Vekol Eitz,
Vitkol Eitz.
Tikka,
Tibcha.
Hasadeh,
Hasadeh.
Hasadeh, yeah. And then Sopasu,
Sof Pasuk.
Shiver, Shiver,
Sheber.
All right, very good, everybody.
What, you want to do a flute canting at the
No,
test?
no.
All right, I'll be nice. I'll be nice. All right.
Thank you.
Oh. If I wasn't so sore, I would make you do it.
Oh, yeah. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you so much for your word that you've given us, Father. We would be so lost without it, Lord. And with it, we have the guide and the lamp for our feet, for to stay on the narrow path that leads to life, Lord. And so we ask that you do hide these things in our hearts, hide the holy tongue of Ivrit in our hearts as we learn it, Father. And Lord, we just thank you for loving us first. Help us to love each other the way you would have us love each other, sacrificially, and help us to love you in return for the love that you gave us first when we were unlovely. We thank you so much for that love and for that grace in all of our lives. We thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Baruch Hashem. All right, guys. So the next verses for study, and I recommend people just take a little bit of time throughout the week. Verses 26 and 27 at least.
Well, if you're not going to
Just-
say, we can keep these.
Yeah, you can keep those for the next few verses as well.
But 26 and 27 is what we can study, and just go through the Hebrew words and look them up. Ask me questions as you have them. I'm happy to answer anything about any of those. So,
All right.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, everybody, tonight. Have a safe travel home. Everybody stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yes, shalom, shalom.
Ruby. Ruby. Yes. Gotcha. Nice to meet you.
Do you have a quick